You don't need Paul, you don't need Peter, you don't need Cephas, you don't need Elvis, you need Jesus.
Fame gives, fame takes. In 1977, a legend vanished. In 1981, a pastor appeared. Same height, same sound, same fire for gospel. Tonight, with nothing left to lose, he says he will reveal everything. But he starts with what no one expects. Not a name, a reason. A reason to walk away, change the map, and sing in the shadows. If that reason holds, the rumor isn't wild, it's logical. And the one detail he shares next flips the whole story. Tonight, a quiet church becomes the stage for a rumor that refuses to die. A pastor says he is fading, and before he goes, he will speak about the whispers that have followed him for years. The face, the voice, the small habits no one taught. People say they see a legend in plain sight. Others call it fantasy. He lifts a hand, pauses, and chooses each word with care. He does not promise proof, he promises a reason. Why a man would leave the noise, change his name, and sing only to God. If that reason holds, the myth shifts from dream to plan, and the first crack appears right here, tonight. Listen. Here is the claim, plain and sharp. Some believe Pastor Bob Joyce is the man the world knew as Elvis. Not a tribute act, not a superfine imitation. The same man, older, quieter, choosing pews over arenas. That is the thesis, and the case starts with patterns. Faces first. High cheekbones, strong jaw, brows that arc like drawn lines. A smile that lands the same, then softens the same. Supporters pause the screen and overlay photos. They say the contours rhyme. Then the habit, the left ear scratch, quick, precise, done the same way at the same beats in speech. A tiny tell repeated over years. They call it the move no actor can hold perfectly unless it is instinct. Posture next, the set of the shoulders, the way the hands float wide then settle close to the chest. The micro-swivel when a phrase climbs. Body language is a signature that leaks truth, they argue. Clothing doesn't prove, but tone does. The stage presence, now a pulpit presence, still pulls a room forward. A hush lands before the first note. Eyes lift without a prompt. Supporters say the gravity feels familiar. And then there is the voice. We will test it in a moment. The grain, the warmth, the southern edges that round a word and let it drift. People do not agree on data, but they agree on how they feel when they hear it. Still, one stubborn detail refuses to fall in line. It sits there like a loose nail in a polished floor. It keeps skeptics in the fight and believers searching for a fix. We will face it next, because if it holds, all of this breaks. Start with the sound, not the notes, the grain. When Pastor Bob speaks, the words ride low and warm, with that soft southern curl at the edge. Supporters say it is the kind of tone you don't learn, you live in it. A breath held a second longer, a syllable eased, then dropped. Familiar? To many, yes, but feeling is not proof, not yet.
Now they sing. In church, the room still goes still before the first line. He does not rush. He leans into vowels. He lets a word hang, then catches it on the next beat. The timbre thickens on gospel, exactly where the legend once felt most at home. People close their eyes and swear they know who they're hearing. Is knowing only memory, or something else? Listen for the lift. On certain phrases, the pitch rises, then folds down like a wave. The chest power does the heavy work, while the throat stays calm. That is hard to fake for long. It comes from years on stage, or years in a body that learned to save itself. Which one is it? There is also the mic manner, the way he steps back on a swell, then returns for the quiet line. The spacing around breaths. Singers can copy style, they rarely copy breath math. That pattern can be measured. Should it be? Supporters pass around amateur overlays of old and new waveforms. They circle peaks and valleys. Skeptics laugh, room acoustics, cheap cameras, wishful thinking. Both sides miss one odd thing a few engineers noticed: a tiny catch at the end of certain words, a catch that shows up on tapes from long ago. It's rare. It's specific. And if it matches across decades, the debate shifts fast to the timeline that breaks everything. Strip away the face and the notes. What remains is presence. People say he carries a calm that fills a room without trying. He listens first. He smiles small. He answers with care. That was the story then, and it is the story now. Kindness before pride, warmth before noise. Is that proof? No. But it is how crowds decide who they trust. Watch the rhythm with people. He greets by name. He lets others shine. He tosses a gentle joke, then steps back. The center of the room moves to him anyway. Charisma can be trained, but ease cannot. Ease leaks from the bones. There is also the way trouble rolls off him, not by force, by focus. He narrows the moment to one person, one need, one prayer. It feels like the old command, translated into quiet. Supporters say this is the real tell. Not the jawline, not the mic. The steadiness, the humble tilt that made millions feel seen and safe. Skeptics say thousands of pastors carry the same light. True. But this light seems to hit the same spots in the same order. Which brings us to the one thing that refuses to match: time. Dates draw hard lines. The record says 1977, death in August. Crowds mourn. Cameras roll. A legend is sealed. Then, 4 years later, 1981, a pastor's ministry begins, small town and steady. Supporters circle those years and write one phrase in the middle: reinvention window. Time to heal. Time to plan. Time to step off the stage and choose a quieter name. Why leave? The story is simple and heavy. Fame was a storm. No sleep. No privacy. No room to be human. Gospel, on the other hand, was calm water. Songs that felt like home. If a man wanted peace, faith, and a life where music serves the soul, not the market, the church would be a natural harbor. That is what believers say. They add smaller tiles to the mosaic: health scares, pressure from money men, cameras at the door. A voice that still wanted to sing but not be owned. So, disappear the icon, keep the man. Trade cities for pews. Trade the tour bus for a pulpit. Keep the songs that once saved you, let them save others. Skeptics answer with their own line. 4 years is not a loophole, it is a gap filled with rumor. Public records exist. Funerals happened. Grief was real. Why bend facts to fit a wish? Supporters reply, documents can be wrong, faces can be hidden, and quiet towns do not ask many questions. Besides, the timeline does not stand alone. It sits beside the face, the voice, the habits. But there's a question no one wants to say out loud, because if the answer is yes, everything else starts to click. Could the death have been a cover, not an end? And if so, who helped build the exit? Follow the music. It leads to the same door. Long before the rumor, gospel was the place he ran to when the noise got loud. Not the charts, not the spotlight, the hymns, the harmonies, the quiet center. Supporters say that the center never moved, only the room changed. In church, Pastor Bob lets the songs breathe. He shapes a note, then leaves space for the room to answer. He does not chase applause. He steers hearts. People describe the same feeling they once named on bigger stages: a lift in the chest, a heat behind the eyes, a sudden want to be better than you were. That is gospel doing its work. The song list matters too. Not titles we will quote, but themes we can name: mercy, rest, rescue, home. The arc stays the same: low to high, lost to found, storm to shore. It is the map of a soul that knows how to come back.
Watch how he holds a vowely word a breath longer than comfort, then resolves it sweet and straight. That is not shown, that is a habit. It is the old instinct to let the room feel the change before the chord says it. Supporters point to that move as a signature. Then the prayer voice, softer, lower, a steady rise at the last line, as if offering the whole crowd up at once. It is simple, it is strong, it lands the same way every week. Skeptics say many pastors sound like this. True, but this sound lines up with a life story. A man who always found shelter in the gospel and might have built a new life inside it. And yet, for all this spiritual fit, one stubborn physical detail still won't sit quietly. Now the split screen. On one side, numbers. On the other hand, feelings. Skeptics hold the numbers. Birth years, 1935 versus 1952, 17 years apart. They point to papers, photos, reports, and a funeral watched by millions. Public records exist, they say. Grief was real. Case closed. They add, lookalikes happen. Voices overlap. Memory plays tricks, and anyone can learn a habit, even a left ear scratch, if they watch long enough. Believers hold the aura. Records can be wrong, they answer. Names can be changed, files can be sealed, time can blur proof. What cannot be faked, at least not for decades, is the deep stuff. Breath math, phrasing drift, the way a room goes quiet before a word. They say the body keeps its own diary. It writes in posture, in timing, in tiny nerves that fire the same way every year of your life. So the argument becomes data versus presence, dates and documents versus the feeling that the same soul stands in a new doorway. Skeptics measure, believers recognize. And then someone brings up a strange middle ground, the smile. Not just the curve, but the story behind it. Work once done for cameras, and later undone by time. A detail too small for headlines, too specific to ignore. If that smile carries a hidden signature, and if it shows up again where no one expected, it won't settle the fight. It will move it to teeth, to mirrors, and to the one micro-tell almost no one tracked until now. Watch the hands. They float wide on a swell, then fold near the heart on a quiet word. The shoulders tip with the rhythm, not the beat. The knees relax before a lift. These are small choices, repeated over years. Supporters call them body memory, the kind you do not plan, the kind that leaks truth. Now the smile. Not just the curve, but the history. Long ago, the grin changed for cameras, polished, perfected. Later in life, nature softened that line again. Supporters swear they see the same arc return on the pastor's face. The top teeth show first, the right corner lifts a breath sooner, and then the whole mouth settles like a dimmer sliding down. It is oddly specific. Then the dental talk, quiet, nerdy, persistent. Fans compare old bite patterns to new ones in still frames. They map spacing, tooth length, the way light catches enamel on certain vowels. Skeptics roll eyes, angles, they say, compression, wishful thinking. Maybe. But there's a reason this tiny lore keeps growing. Microtells stack. One tell can fool you. 10 tells make you pause, and when those tells stretch across decades, they start to feel like a map. If the map points anywhere real, it should lead to the places people kept seeing him after 1977. After 1977, the map did not go blank. It is filled with dots. A gas station at night, a diner after church, a back row at a small concert. The stories sound the same. A man in a cap, head down, voice low, until he says one word and the room freezes. Some swear a song hummed under his breath. Others remember a laugh that lands in the chest like a chord you know by heart. Then come the loose ends. Papers filed fast. A service was arranged quickly, conflicting details in early reports. Nothing huge on its own, just tiny gaps where certainty should be. Skeptics say that's what grief looks like, messy, rushed, human. Supporters say gaps are doors. If you push, they open. A few names repeat in whispers, people who would have helped if a quiet exit had been planned. Security, family, old friends who owed him peace. No one on record, only nods, rumors, and the sense that some truths live off camera because that is the only way they survive. Legends do not need proof to breathe. They need oxygen, doubt, hope, memory. This story has plenty. The sightings never stop. They only shift towns. Each tale adds a stitch. After a while, you don't know if you're seeing a man or the pattern. So if a reveal came today, what would it even look like? A tape? A letter? A voice we already know saying what we're not ready to hear? Hold that picture, because the next beat isn't about myth, it's about choice and what a dying pastor decides to say when the room goes silent. The room holds its breath. He looks small under the lights, but steady. He says he will not give a name. He will give a reason a man might trade the roar for a whisper, the front row for a pew. He talks about sleep he never got, doors he could not close, songs that felt like prayers long before anyone clapped. He says fame is a bright room with no exits, and gospel is a door you can open from the inside. He tells the church there are two kinds of truth, proof and peace. Proof convinces strangers, peace saves a life. He chose the one that kept him breathing. He says if people see a legend in him, let it point upward, not backward. Let it feed the soul, not the rumor. Then he shifts. The voice drops. He says, there was a night when I decided I would live, but not as the man you knew. He names a city, a hospital corridor, a friend who said 6 words that felt like a map. He says those 6 words out loud. And for a second, the whole story locks into place. A chair scrapes, a mic pops, the tape clicks as if to stop itself. He leans in, mouth open to finish the line that ties every clue to a single door. Then the power flickers once, twice, and the sanctuary falls to black.